Hello YouTube. Today I kind of want to discuss the Yu-Gi-Oh ban list and the TCG, the OCG, some of the other card games and some of the video games that we can kind of compare to at Yu-Gi-Oh as to kind of how to fix the ban list and why combining the TCG and the OCG would not really fix any problem and more would basically solve some of the marketing problem that I explained as an issue with the other one. Um, Basically, with the cards and that OCG, the test audience, we are the real audience, and they are able to sell us the cards a lot easier than what they would be able to sell Japan. Now, one of the big problems right now in the TCG is well, for one, we have no idea when we ever are getting a ban list. Versus the OCG, they actually do know. I believe their next one is set to be somewhere in April or September, something like that. But I mean, we get problems like with cards not even getting touched or are okay on the limit list, and OCG, they at least will make sure they hit stuff. Like Dandelion is now at one. That card might need to get banned though because I was watching the Troy Mare plays with Dandelion. They are pretty insane using Dandelion with the new Burning Abyss Link monster. So, but something you can kind of look at is, for example, the OCG, they have two Elemental Hero Stridos, and we have, well, he's banned, and Insector Hornet and Dragonfly are both at 1, and in the OCG they are at unlimited status. So going into a topic that I hear a lot is adding card rotation or set rotation to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I want to explain a couple of the reasons why that doesn't work. Is for Pokemon and Magic, it works because they can create completely different cards, and they a lot of times make cards way more powerful in the new sets than they were in the older sets. I actually will pull up a couple of images of an old Pokemon Charizard card versus a new Charizard card, or at least newer. I don't know the year or sets that they came out in, but I'm not picking up an EX because the EX are supposed to be way more powerful anyway. So this is to make sure it's a fair comparison. So this is a Charizard from back in the first set, 2002. You were able to attach any amount of fire energies to him per turn as you want to. His attack is he does 100 damage by discarding 2 energies attached to him, and he has 120 health. So those are his stats. He has a free retreat cost, take double damage to water attacks, and he has a resistance to the fighting energy. So that's it. Pretty simple. Now let's go up a little bit newer one. This one doesn't have a resistance, have a water weakness, free retreat cost, 160 health, so 40 more health. One team energy called Recall, which allows it to use any and actually doesn't require the energy. Also, it has 130 attack that only says you cannot use the same attack next turn. So that's not a real drawback. So that's kind of one of the reasons why set rotation works in those games, but it will not work in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because people want to talk about power creep in Yu-Gi-Oh! All the time, but in all honesty, you look at a lot of the cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Power creep did not exist the way YouTubers and a lot of people try to make it seem. A lot of times we get into more situational meta cards, and those are what become the power creep. Now, Heartstone is another one. Heartstone has erratas that happen because the entire game is online based, so it's kind of easier to do that. Now, the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is we get damaging the legacy and damaging the effect of the old cards. So like a card like Crush Card Virus, this card was banned for a while because it was so powerful and so good of just destroying your opponent's hand and letting you look at free cards. Now the new one lets you make it so your opponent gets to not only doesn't take damage for the turn that Crush Card activated, but the next turn as well. So even you try to play Crush Card smartly on your opponent's turn, in some sense you're almost better playing it on your turn during the end of your turn, so you can try to like get some damage off, but then you lose out on hitting that card they just drew. Also, they get to decide if they want to send up to 3. They don't even have to send. And it's also up to 3. So they can send 1, 2, or 3, or 0 monsters with 15 attack points or more from their deck to the graveyard. Sending a free Mizuki from your deck to the graveyard, that is just a huge plus. It's why erratas need to be really well, and also it's so hard to do them well for how the Yu-Gi-Oh card game works without just damaging the legacy. I remember when there was a rumor talking about Pot of Greed saying draw 2 cards, but you cannot special summon the rest of the turn. And I would be more upset about Pot of Greed doing that, because the fact that Pot of Greed has a name for being the most simplest of card and one of the more iconic and normal Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Now, what I do think is a best comparison for Yu-Gi-Oh is Pokemon with Smogon. So let me explain why I think Smogon is probably the best game to compare it to. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, there is like, you can still use the same Pokemon from like all the way back from first gen as you can in Gen 7 right now. And I will assume back when we get to Gen 8, you can use the Pokemon from Gen 1. That's kind of the same idea as Yu-Gi-Oh is. Like, you are able to use the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which came out 20 years ago in Legend of Blue Eyes, and that, and at one point was even a competitive deck that won Worlds, and that's just the appeal of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is being able to play these old cards with the new cards. And so how Smogon does it is they basically do something called a subject test, which is they'll put a Pokemon on or a ability on a month test where they'll try to see if there's a problem. So where I can kind of explain this is we'll talk about Grinder Golem and the Grinder Golem problem. So a way to talk about the Grinder Golem problem, we can either say we need to put Grinder Golem at 1 ban, or we need to ban Akatsuki Magician. And the reason I'm going to say that is Akatsuki Magician is what starts the whole loop and combo by her returning a card. Now, say if a new card ever came out, we would immediately unban Akatsuki Magician and put Grinder Golem back at 1 and ban Grinder Golem. But that's just kind of the example. We would test to see if Grinder Golem at 1 is so inconsistent, it basically makes the combo okay and playable. Because I think a lot of people in Yu-Gi-Oh! Would say they are okay with extensive and powerful combo so long as they are incredibly inconsistent. For Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like we have a consistency line, and that's what our ban list really needs to be based off of, is when teams start breaking that consistency line. And officially, I feel like the only way we can really do that is by implementing something like Smogon into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, where we create some kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe or Yu-Gi-Oh! Player base that says, okay, we agree that this card is causing the problem. This is what we want this card hit. Like, some ARG tried to do that once, and Konami threatened to cut them off. We need to just tell them, we are going to do this, and you cannot stop us from doing this. And that would be one of the best things to help fix Yu-Gi-Oh! So tell me what you guys think, how you think of the discussion. Have yourselves a great day. Bye.